Hey guys, I'm the Coaster Key, and today I'd like to dive right on into something that I would like to call Midway Depression. And no, to the older people in the audience, this is not going to be talking about some sort of carnival or midway type of thing. This is more talking about when you're midway through an activity, semester, exercise, something like that, and you just all of a sudden kind of lose the will to keep going. Now, midway depression is something that is not really well defined in the outside world, aka I looked it up and in the 2 seconds that I searched I couldn't find anything on it, but it's a phenomenon that both me and my friends have experienced, and so I'd just like to explore that a little bit. For me personally, midway depression happens most often when I'm midway through an academic year or semester or whatever. Whatever point dictates when your grade is going to come out and be important is when that's the period that I'm talking about. So in high school, semester grades didn't really matter. It was the year grade that mattered. So midway depression would tend to happen right around the semester. Now that I'm in college, midway depression happens midway through the semester, as it really is those semester grades that matter. Now let me explain a little bit why it's even worse in college. You see, in high school, your midway point also means your winter break. There's this set aside period where you can just kind of get out of school, get out of that weird mindset, and just go ahead and take a break and figure out your life. The problem with college is when the midway point comes around, and that's the time when you have like this whole crunch to try and do all your midterms, or if you're me, all of your like midterm papers, there's just all of this stress at such a random point in the year, and there's nothing after it to look forward to. Now, some of you might argue that there's Thanksgiving. And, there is Christmas at the end of it all. But the problem with Thanksgiving is it's not at the midpoint. You see, right where I am, this is the midpoint, and Thanksgiving, unfortunately, falls way at the end of November. We're still in October over here, and I am horribly suffering from midway depression. Now, for all of you wondering, the symptoms of midway depression include being tired all the time, having a million things to do but not wanting to start anything, having a million huge due dates over your head but not wanting to start because they're all just so overwhelming and you just can't take it. Also, wasting time, but in non-productive ways, because your productive ways of wasting time, or at least the ones that you actually enjoy, you don't want to do because you don't want to waste time. All of these symptoms come together to create this sort of horrible illness that just kind of drives you to do even worse in your classes than you should be doing. This often happens right around this time of year because you've just finished all of your midterms, all of your big papers, all of this stuff has been done. You were stressed, you were tired, you were trying to cram everything in, you were staying up till midnight, you were staying up till 4 a.m. getting like 2 hours of sleep. You were doing this over and over and over again to try and succeed, and then you're done, right? You finish your midterms, your midterm papers, but you don't get a break. Suddenly you turn around and your teachers are like, okay, that was a nice warm-up. Now we're going to assign the paper that actually matters. That last one was only about 20% of your grade. This next one is 50% of your grade, and it's due sooner than you want it to be due. And you're just over here like, excuse me? I know this was on the syllabus, but what do you mean the rough draft's due in 2 weeks? It's like all of a sudden, right when you feel like you should be getting a break, right when you feel like, hey, I really deserve to just relax a little bit, to like not do some homework for a while, to just go out with some friends and play some trivia murder party or something. But you can't, because now you have all these major projects and your professors are going over the guidelines for them in your classes. So it's not like you can just ignore this or forget about it. They are constantly hammering these dates into your head until you feel like it's an absolute obligation to get started on these things right away. It doesn't help that if you were cramming for a test or you were doing like all of this work for a paper kind of last minute and you didn't get the result that you quite wanted, now the pressure is on times a million. All of a sudden, all of your inadequacies just kind of come pouring down on you as you get these reports that you need to do better, you didn't do good enough, and you just kind of feel it all come down on you right when you just want to take a break more than anything. And this all just combines to be completely overwhelming. You get to the point where just everything seems impossibly hard and every task seems impossibly big, because when you have all these projects that require you a month or more, which is why your professors are telling you right now to get started, it just feels like so much and so big. And so I, today and yesterday mainly, was struggling with this. Yesterday, I gave into it. All I did was write down all of the things I needed to do, look at that list, and give up. I decided not to go to the review session that I should have gone to for physics because I just felt so overwhelmed that I didn't want to leave my room and I didn't want to stop watching YouTube videos and I didn't want to do anything that required thought. So what I did was I watched YouTube videos, I took a nap, and when I woke up from my nap, it was about time for water polo practice. And when that practice rolled around, I did not want to go, but my obligation and my guilt at being part of a team and therefore needing to go to the practices kicked in. And so I went ahead and I slogged over to the person who was kind enough to give me a ride over, and I went to practice. And that, I would say, is the first step of getting out of this midway depression, is staying in your routines. No matter what they are, you need to stay in them. You need to keep going, because if you fall out of those routines, you will find yourself in a place that is even more difficult to get out of. So first and foremost, stick to your routines. Go to your classes, go to your clubs, do what you're used to doing, and this will help your mind kind of reset to the point where it needs to be. Secondly, when you come back and you've done some of your routines and maybe you're on the next day feeling a bit better, like I was, break up your tasks into doable pieces. Don't just write final paper due December 12th. Don't do that. Do not. Instead, write outline and then write a date down for yourself for that to be due, regardless of if they've actually given you a date. This will be so helpful to you. In fact, if you can even go further and break down that outline that you just gave yourself a due date for, and then break it into something you can do that day, that's even better. Give yourself doable steps so that you can feel a sense of accomplishment as you get them done. Additionally, when you work on something, if you're working on it for a long time, you're working hard, and then you just feel exhausted but haven't hit your point yet that you had meant to get to, that's okay. Things change. If you really feel like you worked really hard on this for as long as you can, it's okay to go ahead and move on to the next thing. After all, these things aren't due the next day. Speaking of which, if you do have things due the next day mixed in with all of these huge projects, which I personally did, I had a lab report that's due tomorrow that I worked on, you need to also prioritize that. You need to prioritize starting on your projects, but also the homework that's due tomorrow will take precedence. And the way that I would suggest doing this is set aside an hour or maybe 2 hours. I have this naturally in my schedule where you just work on stuff for the future. And then when you get home or when you get to your big block of homework time, that's when you work on the big project or the big thing that's due the next day. You work on all of your homework that's due the next day, knowing that you've already done some stuff for those big long-term projects that you're going to need to be doing, and you make sure that you get your homework done for the next day. If you do all of that, you will be able to both feel like you've started those big projects and get a little bit, actually a lot of it, of that weight off of your shoulders, because now you're not procrastinating, you're actually starting, but you're also keeping in mind those things that you actually need to get done, and you're getting those things done. I can't tell you how important it is to have these tasks that you can complete. If you have easier homework that will take less time and you know you can get done fast, I very much recommend doing that first, or if there's multiple, doing those in between your bigger, harder projects. Those little things of completion will help your mind to actually incentivize you to keep going, which is an extremely important thing to do, because there are going to be times when you're working on that work that overwhelming feeling might come back at you and come sneaking back and just make it so that you really don't want to do anything anymore. But you just have to fight it by completing the little things, setting these little goals and just meeting them over and over and over again and working through it. Because I can guarantee you that if you start now on those big projects, they aren't going to be big for much longer. And at the end of the day, you'll probably get your work done. And there will be times when those assignments that were due the next day or those big projects or whatever may not work out, especially if you let this problem continue going for day after day after day. Stuff will start to pile up. All I can say is just take it bit by bit, and you will be able to get through it. You just have to start today. You just have to start right now, because the longer you let it go, the worse it's going to get. So just set it aside. Find one little bit that you can do, write down the title page, write your name on your assignment, and just give it a few minutes. I guarantee it'll help a lot with that Midway Depression. And for all of you that maybe aren't in school and maybe this is less scholarly for you, this also applies to things like, exercise and just life in general. All of those tasks that you have piled up, just break them down. All of those exercises that you have piled up, just break them down into minutes. For me, swimming is just an absolutely horrible activity, but I can get through it because I think I just have to do the next 50. I just have to do the next little few laps, and then I'll be able to get a very short break, and then I'll be able to keep on going. One step at a time, all the way to completion. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video or that it helped you get a little bit out of your Midway Depression. I know how overwhelming it can be, and I wish you the best of luck getting out of it. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you're struggling right now, leave a comment, and me and the other people on this channel can go ahead and encourage you to get done what you need to get done, because I've also found that peer encouragement is one of the best ways to get stuff done. The guilt of telling so many people that you haven't started on something is a very, very powerful motivator. So go ahead and comment if you're procrastinating right now. And then go ahead and subscribe if you liked this video or found it helpful or liked listening to me talk. There's a lot of videos like this on the channel, and there will be a lot more, so stay tuned. Anyways, I hope that you guys soar high and enjoy your ride of life. Bye!